What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Canadian Football Fanatics YouTube channel. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in to another video here on our YouTube channel. We got a very special guest joining us here today on the channel. One Andrew Harris, might have heard of him. Pretty good football player in his day. CFL legend, future Hall of Famer Andrew Harris, of course, um, legend in the CFL community with the VI Raiders. Excited to talk with Andrew today. We've had Andrew on the channel already. Excited to talk about some more stuff about his journey and stuff. I know we had him on earlier, I was going to say in the year, but I guess last year now in 2024. Talked mostly about the VI Raiders and kind of what's going on there right now. We also discussed, that's probably a little bit of a nugget as well. If you guys go look back at that, we discussed the current state of which when we recorded that, I believe it was around maybe I want to say it was before Labor Day. We recorded and got Andrew's opinion of the Argos and what they might look like with Chad Kelly returning. You saw what happened. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and at that current state, they were struggling, still kind of trying to dig their way out of the hole they dug themselves in. And then, of course, his familiarity with his first CFL team, the BC Lions. And now I'm curious to even pick his brain even more with the addition of Buck Pierce coming over to be the Lions head coach. So should be a fun one with Andrew once again. Second podcast episode of 2025. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys haven't checked out the first episode we posted with BC Lions receiver Javon Catoy, go check that one out now. It was a ton of fun to catch up with Javon and hear a little bit more about his journey. And now we have Andrew Harris. As mentioned on the Catoy episode, we have special guests such as Jalen Philpott lined up. Head coach Sean Rabsky of the Vancouver Island Raiders is already recorded. Going to upload that one soon as well. And current U Sports quarterback should be a highly drafted player in the CFL draft, as well as possibly getting a chance in the NFL somewhere, maybe a rookie minicamp invite, something like that. Taylor Algersma, quarterback from the University of Laurier, will be joining us as well. And a few other guests that aren't 100% locked in, but we have some Canadian flavor in the CFL, let's just say, from, let's say, the West Division teams, maybe even an East Division team or two lined up here in the near future. So from here on out, kind of expect things for, kind of every week we're going to try to upload a podcast episode with a guest. We also have Nick Kowalski. I guess this will unfortunately be afterwards, but joined by Nick Kowalski the day after the Arrow Up series releases on the BC Lions platform. That is January 20th. If you guys haven't seen that, if you guys are living under a rock, honestly, because I don't know how you guys haven't seen any of the previews, trailers, etc. for Arrow Up. Home Turf, I believe, is what season 3 is being called. Go check that out now. Must watch. It is fabulous stuff. It is a treat that we are very lucky, I guess is probably what I should say, as Lions fans, supporters, for the type of content that the Lions produce and put out there, because Arrow Up is at the top of the list of just high quality stuff, world class stuff. And this year they're kind of taking that little bit more of that quarterback receiver kind of approach to the Netflix series, the quarterback and receiver. We saw the last 2 seasons of diving into the off field stuff with family and stuff like that a little bit more. So, like I said, if you guys haven't already, it should be out by the time you guys are listening to this. Go check that out on the BC Lions platforms. Arrow Up, Home Turf should already be episodes 1, 2, maybe even 3 or 4 by the time you guys are listening to this one. But like I said, Andrew Harris, CFL legend, 10,000 career rushing yards, top 5 in rushing yards all time, 4th in career scrimmage yards, etc., etc., etc. I'm also very excited to pick and hear his memories from some of the video game stat lines he used to put up back in his junior football days as well. So before we get into it, guys, like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are on the road to 300 subscribers. Hopefully, by the time you guys are listening to this, we are at it. So continue to subscribe. When you guys subscribe, press the notification bell. You guys will get notified every time we upload any sort of content here or we start to go live once again. So as well, follow us on our social media platforms at Canadian Football Fanatics on Instagram, at _CF Fanatics on Twitter as well. So I believe that is all the reminders. I am excited for this one, folks. Let's send it over to one Andrew Harris right now. Joining us now for the second time here on the Canadian Football Fanatics is Tillsonburg Thunder forward Andrew Harris. Andrew, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I love the intro. That's awesome. I'm a hockey player now, through and through. Forgot
Yes, you
about
are. And
football.
we were talking offline, man. It was crazy to see the highlight reel goal there. But not only that, I believe I saw that you were like the in the 3 stars of the week or whatever. You've obviously the hockey roots go back to your early days, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, so hockey was honestly my first love as far as sports came about. But yeah, I started playing hockey at 9. I played A3, and I think my first year playing I had like 130 goals. And then just shortly after that, I went to like A1, and then I played AAA for like a year and a half. And it was just so expensive for a single mom growing up, and it was just play AAA back then was thousands and thousands of dollars plus traveling. So I kind of got frustrated with like the politics and the financial side of things, and stopped playing competitively. Probably when I was around 14 or 15, and then I just played high school hockey. So, but yeah, as I was playing football, I said, I always played beer league and in tournaments and stuff in the off season. But after I said after my career is done, I'm gonna go play senior and something competitive where there's actually hitting and it's real hockey. And yeah, living in Ontario now, the senior league out here is pretty competitive, and I got on with Tillsonburg, and it's been funny, man. Like way better than I thought it was going to be. The talent level, but for the first 10 games, I'm really just kind of getting my bearings and getting used to hitting again. And I think last week, the performance I put on, I'm starting to get in my groove now. So hopefully I can sustain it for the rest of the season here.
More to come then from Andrew Harris. Good
Yeah,
Canadian
for
boy
sure.
though on the ice. The thing that I've been loving, buddy, is seeing you guys in the basement there with your little guy hitting one tees and stuff like that. So it's obviously in,
Yeah.
in the family there. Might be the next Harris in NHL in the coming years or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a lot of people think I'm forcing on him, but it's honestly like he's obsessed with hockey. I got him a little synthetic ice surface in the basement here for his birthday Christmas present. But yeah, he wants to be down there every day, every morning. We get up, he wants to go play hockey. We get home from daycare, he wants to go before we go to bed. He wants to go down there. So it's pretty impressive. He just turned 2. He can already stand on his skates. He can take some strides. He can hit one timers. He's a talented kid already. So yeah, I'm just gonna as much as he wants to do, I'll be there to give him the resources and play with them, and that's all I can ask for as that's all you can ask for as a dad. And for him as a being inspired and obsessed with hockey the way he is, it's just awesome to be able to play with him and watch him grow and get better and better every day.
Right on. Love to see it. So, Andrew, last time we had you on, it was around the time you released your documentary, Running Back Relentless. And preparing to have you on. I went and rewatched it again, and kind of just with this idea of having you back on, just some of the questions kind of going through your journey and stuff like that, and just kind of wanted to maybe get a peek behind the curtain of some of the questions I had with kind of watching your documentary throughout your time and stuff like that. So, if you don't mind, we'll kind of start with the Raider days and kind of coming out to Vancouver Island as a Manitoban kid, never left the province before. What was kind of going through your mind at that time to kind of put your trust in an organization, a brand new organization at that, and obviously kind of leave your mom
Sorry,
behind, your
Cole,
province
you're cutting
behind.
out like right.
Oh, sorry, Andrew. I'm just kind of hopefully I'm coming through for you. Okay, I'm just asking about kind of that time when you left home, 17 years old, I believe, and you decided to come to Vancouver Island. What was kind of going through your mind at that time, and was that a hard thing to kind of leave the nest, if you will, spread your wings and kind of lean on yourself, if you will?
Yeah, I think the biggest hurdle for me is the acceptance of not being able to get into school. And that was a tough pill to swallow, even though it was on my own doing. Like I literally thought I was going to get into university or college just based off of talent, and I thought I'd be good enough regardless to my grades would be good enough. And but I was really just spiraling in the wrong direction. More so in grade 11, or that's kind of when it really started. And then the end of grade 11, I got suspended for 2 months for an altercation that I kind of caused at school. Then I switched schools in grade 12, and then I was just making stupid mistakes and just caught up in the wrong crowd and just really not school focused. So when the opportunity to play junior came up, my whole idea was I'm going to play 1 year, 2 years, and then I'm going to go to school. Because as it stands right now, and one of the things I'm really focused on changing this curve is you look at all the four big sports, right? You look at basketball, baseball, hockey, and football. You look at basketball, baseball, and hockey. You can make professional without having to go to school. Where in football, 99% of the players all went to college. There's no guys that play, there's not many guys who come from junior, especially in the NFL. There's no junior, there's junior college, but there's still a college aspect to it. So my goal is not everyone's a student. Not everyone needs to go to school or shouldn't need to go to school to make it to the pros. So my emphasis is really trying to change that narrative as far as Canadian football and get guys more opportunities, especially now with the Americans and the international players we out to have here, working on getting them Canadian status if they play a certain amount of time in the CGFL, like they do at U Sport level. But again, this whole dynamic and this whole premise of going to school is the only way you can make pro. I just don't think it's right. Guys have different interests, whether they want to do trades or maybe they want to just get into business or work for their family or whatever it is right out of high school. I don't understand why it just needs to be a college university route that you need to take when the other big out of the big four, the other three, you can make it without having to go to school. So, but for me, yeah, like I found the opportunity to play junior in BC, and then saw guys like Lauren Plant, Josh Bowden, Sean White, Jared LaRose. There was a handful of guys getting opportunities from junior in the CFL, and I said, I think I'm good enough to be able to do this. On top of being just falling in love with the Nanaimo, falling in love with the Raiders, the culture we had, the brotherhood, and all things I'm trying to recreate now with the team as being president with the Raiders. We had guys from all over Canada, and now if you look at our roster now with the Raiders, we got guys from all over Canada, all over the world. We got kids from Germany, we got kids from South Carolina, we got kids from Colorado. Winnipeg, Calgary, Regina. It's amazing how we can bring all these different kids from all over the world and bring them over to the island and have one goal, one focus, and bring it all together. So that's really what I'm trying to recreate. But my time with the Raiders was one where I became, I was a self-proclaimed punk, man, like proclaimed punk. I was absolutely misguided, had no real disciplines other than the fact that I was good at sports, and I used that discipline to be good at sports. But I didn't have any guidance or discipline in my life outside of that. But the leadership through coaches, through the older players that still have great friendships and brotherhood with to this day, really helped me become a man, and really got me focused in the right ways to pursue and say, hey, like I'm going to be a BC Lion now, and that's a real possibility. Also, too, ability is nothing without opportunity. So the Lions gave me that opportunity to go to camp and show myself, but I was a deer in the headlights just from the from the playbook, from the speed, from the just the physicality, and it was a tough grind to kind of get myself to the next level within that organization as well.
Hopefully, I'm coming in okay for you, Andrew. But two individuals that I know I asked you about last time that played a huge role in your development and just you being a person, who you turned out to be, Hattie Abassi and Coach Snoop, obviously. And I wasn't going to ask you about them, but I had Javon Catoy on last week, BC Lions receiver, and he kind of mentioned a crazy story that came up of, he had the knee injury and playing for the Calgary Colts. He took football off for 2 years and wasn't going to play. Coach Snoops goes to Langley and gives him a call 2 years later and was like, man, come out here and play, and gives him that opportunity. And he kind of gave you the same opportunity. What is so special about what those two did and what they kind of created in bank and for the Raiders for that period of time with the Raiders?
Yeah, I mean both of those guys. I look at Hattie as like a father figure to me, massive mentor. Snoop in the same realm, but they both kind of wore different hats for me personally, and for the team. I mean, Snoop was one of those guys who just brought everyone together. He was kind of a glue guy in a way, and we'd have barbecues at his house every Friday before games, and it was Jeff. The door was always open, and it just felt like, without knowing him for too long, he would just bring you in and make you one of his, and I really felt like part of something the first time I met him, and hung out with him, and then from Hattie's aspect, he was obviously on the business side of things, and got this team to the next level through raising through sponsorship and his generosity with the team, but also too his love and passion for the Raiders, and the players, was next to none. Like you'll never see that replicated or duplicated ever again. I mean, it was just a different time, a different atmosphere, a different culture, and but the two of them together, the dynamic between both of them, was really what made this whole thing go and click. And again, it all just kind of stemmed down from family, and brotherhood, and having each other's backs. And I'd run through a wall for either one of those to this day. If Hattie called me up or Snoop called me up and needed anything, I'm there in a heartbeat. So and I think there's probably 500 guys across Canada that would feel the same way. Over the time being of and even Snoop, he coached at so many different places. And but I mean, I'm just talking about from the Raiders standpoint. Those 5 years that I was here. The bonds and memories and things we were able to accomplish were pretty outstanding, and again, something that I'm really trying to pay forward and replicate.
You said it once again there, something you're trying to create once again. Take us back to when you were a Raider and, three national champions, the pirate ships, and, the atmosphere that it was like to go to a Raiders game. I feel like we kind of got a little bit of a glimpse of that last year, of some of the crowds coming out and the community kind of buying back in. And I know it's been mentioned before of you kind of being like Nanaimo's adopted son and stuff like that. And the community is so important to kind of buying back into this team and creating some of those kind of atmospheres at those games, and you guys winning the national championship at home, and the pirate ship, and the lucky bike in the end zone and stuff like that. I feel like headed in that direction. And like you said, you wanted to kind of go in that direction once again. What was it like to be a Raider back then, when it was just such a standard of winning, and that culture that brought you guys that close together?
Yeah, man, it was awesome. I mean, being in Nanaimo, you're really, and being a junior football player, it was like you're a big fish in a small pond kind of thing, right? Like back then, there was the Clippers and us, and I don't think the Clippers were winning too much back then. So, for us, it was just like we're like the big men on campus, so to speak, and we were really heavily embedded in the community. We did lots of outreach, Boys and Girls Club, Salvation Army, you name it. We were going to schools to read. So I mean, we were in the community doing good things, and the community was giving back to us in great ways too. So again, I mean, we are nothing without our fan base, without our community, without sponsors, and that's really something that we need to, a bigger uptick this year. Bigger crowds at games, more community engagement with our players, and doing different activations and events, and giving back to the community, getting involved in the community, and making sure that our players are embedded in household names that people know. They're reading about them in the paper, seeing stuff about them online, and Nanaimo will be adopting more sons like myself, that don't want to leave the rock or the island. They want to stay there, start families, start their business, start working. If professional or university isn't their option, they find a home in Nanaimo, like a lot of guys have, and are still there from, Calgary, Winnipeg, all over the place, that are still living in Nanaimo. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as the pirate ship and the lucky bike and just the crowds, I remember the beer garden back in Caledonia. I remember running a touchdown in there and like running into the little like rubber or plastic fencing, and people pouring popcorn on me, and beer spilling everywhere. And yeah, it was rowdy. It was intense. It was loud. And we saw glimpses of that last year. I think the lucky bike made it out, I think week 1 or 2. against Okanagan. So hopefully we can get some more of the OG fans that were out back in the day, and the biggest thing is creating new experiences for new people, right? For families. So it's a safe, fun experience and an affordable experience for them to come watch some entertaining football. I do know we are going to be entertaining. I do know we're going to be really talented this year. We'll get into that in a bit, but as far as the experience, man, it was second to none. And especially on those Saturday games, that train would always come by, at Caledonia right around that fourth quarter, mid fourth quarter. So if we were up big, it would toot the horn, and everyone would go crazy. If it was a close game, they'd toot the horn, and everyone would go crazy. If we were down, they toot the horn, and we knew we were coming back and winning that game. I think actually in the 2006 national championship, we were down to the Edmonton Hilltop or Wildcats, and that train came by with like 6 minutes left, and we were down by 10 points or a touchdown or something. And sure enough, and the whole crowd goes crazy, and we just run amok and end up winning the game on a field goal. So, yeah, pretty cool memories, pretty special memories. Honestly, and my goal is, this is like a five-year goal. It would be to get back to Cali as our home field. I know, the city isn't really going to support us too much on that, but hopefully we can get ourselves in a situation where we're bringing in more money and more sponsors and doing bigger things in the community, and we can revamp Cali and to having a Canadian football field on the island that's painted properly, numbered properly, the width's perfect, getting grandstands in there, proper change rooms, lights, but I think honestly, like that's probably the most aesthetically pleasing, perfect little bowl for junior football and for football in Nanaimo to be able to play there too. Anyone who plays Canadian football will have the right lines, and that's the biggest hurdle for me, is that when we're at our field now, is that there's a little bit of confusion on what's in and what's out, because in BC they play American football for some reason. So, but yeah, that's a long-term goal for me, but we'll see how it all plays out in the next few years here.
Yes, please get us back to Cali, Andrew. I'd always love the home field advantage of everybody hates coming to Cali as well, and I think that just feeds
Right.
how much.
And I mean that field is just a swamp, right? Like once you get into late September, October, and if
October.
you don't have an inch studs on, you're screwed, right? So
Yeah.
but yeah, to be able to turf that field, put some grandstands in, proper change rooms. We're talking a lot of money here, but hopefully we can get to that eventually.
One step at a time. So, Andrew, one story that I was curious to ask you about, and probably if people weren't here in Nanaimo or Vancouver Island Raiders fans might not know the backstory behind the switching to the number 33. Obviously, you were formerly of the number 20. Could you tell us a little bit about that story and kind of what happened and why you switched to number 33?
Yeah, so 2008 or 2007, sorry, we brought in a fullback named from Calgary. His name was Aaron Niedergrazes. Me and Aaron instantly clicked, and he wore number 33. I was wearing number 20. We instantly clicked though. Aaron had faced tons of adversity in his youth and teenage years, overcoming addiction. He was just a bad apple. Getting himself into trouble, arrested all the time, and so he went away to rehab and kind of got refocused, and he ended up coming out to the island to play ball, and we really just hit it off. He was completely sober. He was had his head in the right places and on the right direction, and really was just going through complete 360 or 180 of turning his life around, and super proud of the guy, but he also just had this like crazy passion and crazy switch on him. Like he had his stuff together, but he was a little batshit crazy though still. Like he had this like crazy switch on him, and you're like, man, I couldn't imagine being around this guy when he was off his rocker, off of any kind of other influences, because he was already kind of psycho. But he just brought a certain energy and a certain life to whether you're driving in a car with him listening to music or you're on the football field, running through running through guys' faces. He was just just brought a certain energy that was contagious. And again, I fell in love with the dude. As soon as we started hanging out, and there was an instant like best friend, like, I got your back, I'm here for you. And I could see the pain through what he'd been through, and could kind of relate to it. My background wasn't as wild as his. And I just kind of saw myself in him a little bit, with the way he kind of changed his ways, and the way he was handling things. So in 2008, he decided to stay working. On his brother had worked on the rigs, and we both found out in 2008 or 2007 that our ladies were pregnant. So we he had his daughter on January 1st, 2008, and my daughter was born on the 15th, 2008. So yeah, he's away. 2008 season, I've been, I'm switching over from receiver and playing a little bit of running back because of, the Lions want me to play receiver. They want me to play safety, so I'm kind of doing all these different things, but not really playing too much running back. A little bit here and there. I get hurt mid-season. I smashed my knee on the Okanagan. Has this like the bowl, or the track had a cement little barrier on the inside. I came down on a corner, hit my knee. So I was out for like 3 or 4 weeks. This was like kind of mid-September. So anyways, we're at practice end of September, and Coach Snoop gets a phone call and says, he comes over. He's like, yeah, Aaron passed away. He was in a car accident. He was driving home from being in Calgary and going back up to camp. The person I was driving had fell asleep, and he passed away. And I was devastated on so many different counts. One, because he should have been playing football with us, doing what he loved, but he wasn't, because he wanted to support his daughter and his family. And the second part of that is, he had a daughter that was 8 months old at the time. Same age as my daughter, basically 2 weeks apart. Yeah, and it just tore me apart. So I instantly, once I found that out, we had a game the following week, and man, you get me emotional here, buddy. And
Sorry, Andrew.
yeah, it's all good. Yeah, we had a game the following week, and I told Coach Snoop, I was like, I'm done playing receiver. I'm taking number 33, and I'm playing running back again. And that 2008 season, I dedicated to him, or his number. I got his number tattooed on me still to this day. With a lion, which represented who he was. He was just courageous, tons of pride, and just had that passion that I've never seen from anyone else. And my season in 2008 in the playoffs was bonkers. Like, the national title, I had 410 yards. The semifinal against Saskatchewan, I had 370. The BC final, I had like 280 or something like that. I think I ran for over 1,200 yards in like 4 games or something like that in the playoffs. So, and honestly, after I switched that number, and before every game, I'm on the 33-yard line praying to him. This number is more than just a number to me. And when I put those threes on, I can feel his passion, and I can feel him with me and riding with me. And again, I was a pretty good player with 20, but when I put 33 on, I became a way different man. That's for sure.
Well, thank you for answering that, Andrew. I appreciate that so much. And I remember those days and kind of hearing about that news, as well as another one. I know he didn't, I believe he didn't pass away, but the Rise Copens incident as well. And just kind of how the community, back to the community, kind of wrapped their arms around the Raiders and supported them at that time was just terrific. But talking about that to a more positive note, Andrew, you talked about those video game stat lines that you were putting up, and those '08 natties, the '09 one, I believe, as well. You had a pretty good one. But what are your memories, if any, of like some of those games you mentioned? Of like I believe that now you're mentioning the one versus Saskatoon was like 32 carries, 400 yards, and like 4 touchdowns. Just absolutely ridiculous. I know there's a game on YouTube actually that the MyGen Multimedia posted of you versus the Vancouver Trojans, I believe they were at the time, and you're just like
Yeah.
running wild all over them. It's like boys versus men versus boys. But what memories do you have of some of those games of just putting up ridiculous stat lines?
Yeah, I think the one that stands out the most to me would be the Intergold or the national semifinal in Saskatoon. I mean, everyone knows about how the Hilltops have been, so successful over the last 20 years or 30 years, really. Like they've been the perennial, they're the perennial, PFC representative for, I don't know, I mean, how many years in a row or just in the last 20. They probably got at least 80% of them. So for us to go to Saskatoon, it was cold. The ground was like complete rock. Like it was a mud field, but it was in the negative. So imagine just playing on like frozen mud. Um, but I remember coming out of the locker room. We had like a walkthrough day, and I had my shirt off, and I was running just like a madman through walkthrough, and I was like, "It's too muddy, it's too," and I was just being a cocky shithead, and but everyone thought that the Hilltops were gonna kill us. They're gonna kill you guys, and you're playing at the Gordie Howe, whatever it is, and or whatever the hell their stadium is. But everyone was saying that we're gonna get our ass kicked, and even at the awards and the little executive meetings and stuff, the disrespect that Hattie was getting and Snoop were getting, it was just crazy. So coming out there, it was just like that attitude of like, doesn't matter, I don't care how good these guys think they are. We're playing in their little mud bowl, whatever it is, and like, it's cold. We're the BC boys, but even though half our team was from the prairies, anyways, it was just, and it was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and we had a guy rough the kicker, which was so unnecessary, that got him up by like 2 scores, and I remember I just snapped on the sideline, and then like the next series, I like reverse field and like I took it 80 yards down the sideline, and I came. I'm like, we're not fucking losing this game. Sorry for swearing,
No,
but
all good.
yeah. But I'm like, we're not losing this game. I was like, let's go. And then sure enough, we get the ball back, we score again, and it was just like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But again, like, I think I had like 30 touches or something like that for 370, and then like another 40 or 50 yards in the air, and 3 or 4 touchdowns. So just ridiculous numbers, but just felt like I'm refusing to lose. We're not losing this game, and everyone just thought that it was like there was no way in hell we're going to be able to get it done. And then the next game we go to Burlington, and then I get even more yards. But I mean, that game was a bit different, but and it was the same thing. It was kind of, they had a muddy field, and I came out doing the same thing. Oh, it's too muddy, and like blah blah. But I kind of just got into these like this routine of just being a shithead but motivating my team in a way, because everyone always counted us out in those situations, or that year anyways. But we were just on a different level, and really just came together. I think more so with the passing of Aaron as well too. It wasn't just me. We had a lot of guys that were close to him that dedicated that season, and were playing out of this world, for our lost brother.
So that being '08, you get into '09, and that's when the opportunity with the Lions came. I'm curious. I've seen this clip multiple times of you talking about the day in the life of Andrew Harris, of waking up, going to Lions stuff, and then ferrying back over to the island. Take us through what that was like for you to be on the Lions practice roster, as well as be loyal to your junior teammates, and still try to show up and be professional and accountable, and still perform on Saturdays the way you were doing. What was that year like, and how crazy was that for you?
Yeah, so in 2006, I had an old lineman that was doing the same thing. So he practiced with the Lions all week, and then he just come over on walkthrough day. So I always felt kind of weird. He played O-line, he played tackle. So there'd be a guy practicing all week in that position, and then he would just show up on walkthrough day and like, hey, get out of here, I'm jumping in. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it is a tough grind. So when that opportunity came for me to practice with them and play with the Raiders as well, I was like, hey, I'm not gonna, if I can't make every practice, I need to make at least 1 or 2, right? I tried to make 3 as much as I could, but it was a grind. But for the most of the season, I at least made 2 practices, and sometimes 3 throughout the week. So the day would start. I'd get up at 7 a.m. I was staying close to campus by Simon Fraser. Didn't have a vehicle in Vancouver, so I'd bus down to Surrey, just close to our SkyTrain bus to the SkyTrain down to Surrey. Get to practice around 8. We start meetings at 8:30. I'd go through practice, grab a quick bite to eat, and then I'd get on the SkyTrain to go downtown. And I go from downtown, I'd jump on the float plane over to Nanaimo, get to Nanaimo around 4 o'clock, hang out for about an hour, try to get something else to eat too, then practice with the Raiders. Raiders would be from whatever 6:30 to 9, and then I'd get to the ferry for 9:45. Ferry back over to the island, get back to the mainland around 11:30, and then I would take the bus from Horseshoe Bay all the way down to Burnaby. So I get home around 1 o'clock in the morning, and then try to get to bed, and then do that whole thing over again. So, again, like 2 or 3 times a week, and then on Saturdays or on Fridays we'd have our walkthrough day. Or the team was playing, BC was playing at home or traveling. I'd do the walkthrough with the Raiders, and then we play on Saturday afternoons, and then I'd hang out after the game. Probably hang out Sunday. Sunday would be my off day, and then Mondays I'd be back over in Surrey practicing again and doing that whole routine again. So, yeah, it was a lot. I think the big thing for me was just eating properly, like, trying to catch a bite in between done practice to getting to the ferry. And then, like, I wasn't really cooking any meals. I was eating a lot of like pizza and like burgers from like a little, like, one on the ferry for sure. Lots of ferry food. I came to love the Triple O burger. And then there was like a little pizza spot that I would always hit on the SkyTrain. But yeah, so I wasn't really eating the best. But I remember just playing that national championship in 2009, and I was just like so exhausted. I just hit a wall, and thank God we had guys like Rob Medeiros, and Yancey was hitting his stride, and we had a lot more weapons on our team that year than we probably had in the past. But yeah, I still had a decent 09 season, but I was definitely exhausted for sure. But in the same realm, the game slowed down like crazy for me. So when I was playing junior, when I first started, everything was fast and it felt, normal. But after practicing with the Lions, and I'm playing like scout team running back, scout team receiver, scout team safety, doing all the scout team special teams. So I'm never really leaving the field as long as there's carded scouted looks, right? Getting worn out, but also learning, the playbook, feeling how it is from a receiver standpoint, running back standpoint, playing safety. I just saw the game from a different lens, and really, became a student of the game that way. And I was never like the fastest, strongest, biggest, quickest, anything. My edge was always this, and it all came from doing all those different things. I think playing in 2 different leagues essentially at the same time really helped me appreciate and understand. But then playing junior, it was like slow motion, and it's funny, like as I got along in my career, my last 4 years in the CFL, it was like I was playing junior again, but I wasn't explosive enough to be able to utilize it properly. I'm like, I wish I had that mentality, and as the game slowed down for me like that when I was like in my mid-20s, I would have been doing the same kind of numbers I was doing in junior. But I mean, it's just part of the game, right? Like the older you get, the wiser you get. But yeah, it's funny because like I could see things, anticipate things happening, and then I'm like trying to get there, but my old asses can't get there anymore. So
That's awesome.
Father Time's undefeated, man.
That's an awesome story though, Andrew. I couldn't believe that grind. I know we have a similar one, not with you having to do planes, trains, and automobiles, but I think of like playing junior, and like, you wake up in the morning, you go to work, you come home for a few hours after work, and you kind of go to practice and do the same thing. You
Yeah.
having to come from Vancouver is just insane to me, and going through BC Lions stuff. You
Well,
get into
that was
20.
honestly like that was probably one of the best things about playing junior when I was just working, because I started at 6:30 or 7, and we'd be done at 3 o'clock. Practice didn't start till 6:30, so like I'd hit the river or Westwood or something beach for like an hour or two and just chill. Like I really enjoyed the island to the fullest. Like just getting some time in, go check out some ladies and do your thing in the middle of summer. Like it was unreal. But yeah, those last 2 years were an absolute grind. So, but I definitely enjoyed myself for those first 3. That's for sure.
Yes, it was awesome to get off work and text the boys where we go on the river before practice and stuff like that. I'm glad to see the tradition also has
Yeah,
continued. But
absolutely.
you get into 2010, you finally make the Lions full time, and as you mentioned, you're playing scout team, receiver, running back, DB as well. Your role that season was predominantly as a kick returner. You end up
Yeah.
having, I think, around like 700 all-purpose kick return yards, and start to make an impact and start to, I feel like, catch an eye of a Wally Bono who sees something that's down the road potentially in you. What was that season like for you to finally break through, get on the roster, and be dressed? I think you were dressed for all 18, if not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah, I dressed all 18. In that season, we had Giannis Davis, who was
Right.
an insane returner. Like he was, I think he was the rookie of the year, special teams player of the year. So the reason why I got so much action is because they were kicking away from him, especially on punts. So whether it be the main returner just to throw it off so they wouldn't punt to him, or the off returner they would kick away from him. But yeah, I had a couple big returns. I was really consistent. The big thing for me was just be consistent. Have good ball security. Just make the right decisions. And one of the things that Wally had mentioned to me is just like we've got to be able to trust you. We got to be able to trust you back there. And when you're running back, there's only one guy on the field. And you're the focal point when you're getting the ball, if there's pass protection and whatever it may be. But there's only one of them. So we got to be able to trust you ultimately to be able to handle everything, whether it's blocking, catching, running the football. So I kind of went to that season and was just really trying to earn that trust and showing that I could be trusted, in scout team and even getting my reps in practice at running back. So much to the point where 2011 came along and I got a call from him and he said, yeah, I want you to come in and be our starting running back in 2011. I'm like, okay, wow, awesome. Like I predominantly been playing they had me listed at receiver, I think. And then a couple of injuries went on. So they put me in the running back room for meetings and stuff. So I hadn't really like played or had it's just been practice. I hadn't really had any live reps. I think I had one carry in 2010 that went for a touchdown, but it got called back. It was a holding. It was like a 70-yard or 60-yard run against Winnipeg, actually, but it got called back. But other than that, I didn't really have any carries or touches. But anyway, so he calls me and he says, yeah, we want you to be the running back because like you just need to put on a little bit of weight. So I think I was around like 195, 200 pounds. So my goal was to get to like 210, 205, for camp, and then, obviously lose a little bit. But yeah, just lifting really heavy in the off season. And I ended up tearing my pec in 2011, trying to put on weight and get stronger and stronger. I was doing bench press and it was like my last week of my one of my phases. And, I've been doing the same weight. It wasn't like I was like exuding myself in any which way or exerting myself in any which way. But yeah, going up and boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, I just feel like someone took a sword or a knife and just like stabbed right to my chest. Bar comes down. Thank God I had a spotter. Got the weight off, and it was like an ice cream scoop from like my chest, or like right in my pec area here, and everything was balled up here. So go see the doctor. Okay, it's gonna be a 6-month recovery. Now this is in March. I'm like, shit, I'm gonna miss the first part of the season. So I was like, hey, like, what can I do? How can I get this speeded up? And I had a really good trainer at the time. I really surrounded by some great people. But ended up getting back for training camp. I think I was a week without hitting, but I made it back on time. But because of that, they ended up signing Jamal Robertson, who was a veteran running back, to come in and kind of take the reins because I was injured. And then we were 0-5. Then I think we beat Toronto, and we were 1-6. And then they basically sat him down, put me in at running back. We signed Arlen Bruce, made a couple acquisitions on defense, and then we went on like a 9-0 run or 10-0 run. I think we lost one game at the end of the season there, just when we kind of rested guys. But we were literally the worst team in the West. Ended up clinching first against we beat the shit out of Montreal. I had like three touchdowns in the first quarter or something like that. And that's when I was kind of like, I'm on my way. I'm here. I'm gonna be in this position, and find ourselves in the Grey Cup playing Winnipeg. win the Grey Cup, win Most Outstanding Canadian. And I'm like, man, like the work I put in that season, all the different things, even from that season, like the things I overcame just to be active and get healthy. Most guys would have said, oh, 6 months, I'm not going to be ready till mid-season. But I really just challenged myself, forced myself to be available, which I did a lot throughout my career. Even my last year in Toronto, I forced myself to be in that game with the torn ACL, torn PCL. And my superhero powers just kind of ran out for me, at 37 years old. This wasn't the same anymore. But the year before that, I had a pec injury. The year before that, I had a ruptured hamstring. The year before that, I had a knee injury. So it was just like these things are just kind of coming, and when adversity comes and hits you in the face, you can either fight or you can flight. You can run from it, or you can just accept it, or you can fight it and overcome it. So I've always been a true proponent of trying to overcome adversity, overcome things trying to drag you down, and it just makes victory that much more sweet for sure.
Yes, it does. I'm curious to ask you about two game atmospheres during that 2011 season. Reopening BC Place against the Edmonton Elks. I believe you were the first one to score for the BC Lions.
Yeah.
And back then, I believe that was a complete sellout, if I'm not mistaken. If not that, I know the Grey Cup was as well. And to play in that, first your hometown team, score a touchdown in that. What were playing in front of those crowds like? A 50,000 at BC Place and brand new BC Place too at the time.
Yeah, I think we played Eskimos or Elks now. I think there was 53 or 52,000 people in there, something like that. So that was by far the biggest crowd I've ever played in front of. And that was right when I was becoming the starter too. So I think I had one game, maybe, or that might have been the game where I was like becoming the starter for the first time. But I caught a read screen, a swing pass to the field, and I broke like two tackles in the backfield and then took off down the sideline. I had like the peace sign up at like the 15-yard line, just so cocky and arrogant. But I was like, like just going crazy.
But before
Um,
Tyreek Hill too.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Oh man, but yeah, crazy, right? Yeah, so I mean that one sticks out for sure. And then obviously, the Grey Cup playing against your hometown. It's kind of interesting, man. Like I've thought about this. Like every Grey Cup I've been a part of, I've either been with Winnipeg or beat Winnipeg.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird, trippy thing to think about. But yeah, I mean that whole week just flew by for me. Just the media and like Grey Cup weeks, insane as a player as it is, especially a first time starter and playing against your hometown. And it's funny, like when I think back at it, I don't really remember too much from that week or that game. Honestly, I just like it was really overwhelming and a lot. But the small memories I do have, I'll definitely cherish, and thank God for all the video and digital pieces that are out there, so I can kind of reminisce a little bit more.
Yeah, so you end up returning back home in 2016, and you end up fulfilling the lifelong dream of bringing a Grey Cup back to Winnipeg in 2019. Also, with the kind of the running back relentless and getting a peek behind the curtain, I know there was a lot of stuff going on off the field. Was that the best version of Andrew Harris that we've seen in your career? That 2019 season, I believe it was like 1,900 yards from scrimmage. You end up, winning the Grey Cup in Calgary for your hometown Winnipeg Blue Bombers. What was that season like for you? And like I said, was that the best version we've seen of Andrew Harris?
Yeah, I think when I got to Winnipeg in 2016, I was I was just in my like late 20s, and just kind of figuring out, who I am as a player, who am I as a man. And one of the big reasons why I came back to Winnipeg was to be closer to my daughter and just have more of a family dynamic, because when you're going back and forth like I was, it was just made it really difficult. Me and her mom had split up, so when I got back to Winnipeg, I really was fighting to get her full time, and finally did. And then I got into a relationship and got married really quickly, and then divorced really quickly. So a lot happened in those, like from like 17, 18 to 2021. And right in that 2019 season was when I was going off, and a lot was happening behind the scenes that was really negative. And I go through the suspension, and just really just was in a dark place. But as far as my play and my mentally on the field, before all that, yeah, like I really felt, there was that. I always talk about, when you're first starting off, your physicality's here, but your mental's here. And I think when you play the best is when both those are equal, when your mental and your physical are kind of meeting each other, and then obviously your physical gets down here, your mental goes a little higher, and then that's a battle now. And that was like the last couple of years, right? I'm just trying to get there, but I can't quite do it, but I can see it. But I think in 18, 19, and a little bit in 21, and 21 was tough too, because we lost a year, and I came in hurt to the season. I got in a quad accident during COVID that didn't heal properly. So it was just battles, 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 and still kind of like going through my separation and moving into a new house, and just a lot of stuff behind the scenes. But again, that physical and mental were kind of still meeting, right? Maybe a little bit surpassed on the mental, and the physical is coming down. But I think like I said, when an athlete at any level, any sport, can have their mental and physical levels, and if you call it a Madden stat or whatever it is, right there, when those both can meet, that's when an athlete really is in their prime, in my eyes. And I would say that 18, 19, 21 was where I was hitting that. So when the game becomes slow motion for you, and you can anticipate and see things and still be able to hit the hole, or make plays with physicality the right way, you're always going to be looked upon as elite, because things are looking easy, things are coming to you easy, because you're seeing it, and you're able to dominate with the physicality as well.
That 107th Grey Cup, you also became the first ever player to win Most Outstanding Canadian, which you already won in the Grey Cup, and then Most Outstanding Player as well. And I know you're very motivated coming off that suspension to, yeah, I know you detailed it in your documentary there, kind of how motivated you were to just make sure that you were felt and on that day. So I'm curious now, take us through, you win at home. We've
Yeah.
seen some of the videos, the Chris Treblers and stuff like that. Take us through what it's like to go through a championship parade in Winnipeg.
Oh man, it was crazy. Um, 2019 it was kind of weird, because that was when COVID was still kind of coming around, or just kind of coming around, and yeah, so like a lot of guys were sick, like a lot of people were sick, but didn't really know what was going on, right? Like, yeah, what's like everyone, like we had probably like four guys that didn't even practice at all during that Calgary, because they were bedridden, like had all the symptoms, but no one knew what it was. Like, I think the actual like COVID-19 came out, in December, or maybe even in like January. That was an actual thing. But we had lots of guys that were like sick as hell. So we were partying and all that stuff, but like guys were just like deathly ill. And imagine, like, we're sharing bottles and drinking out the cup, and but again, we just thought it was like a flu or something, but as far as the parade, and we would bring that cup into any bar, any restaurant, and it was just like free drinks, free shots, free food. We had tons of different celebratory things. The parade in itself was just outrageous. Like, the amount of people that came out, like, I honestly think there was 40, 50,000 people down at the Forks there. But what it seemed like anyways, I don't know, maybe not, but it seemed like it anyways. And yeah, it was just the city embraced us. People are getting tattoos, it was this ruckus chaos for a month and a half after that 19 win, which was awesome. I think it took a couple years off my life, to be honest with you, but well worth it.
So you end up, like you said, the break comes with COVID, and then fulfilling well, back to back, obviously with the missing 2020 season. How much were you kind of weighing your decision in the future coming up of maybe that was going to be your last game in Winnipeg, or were you just kind of enjoying the moment there after you guys won in 2021?
Yeah, 2021, like I definitely had COVID in that game too. So it was like I was after we got back from Hamilton, I didn't really leave bed for like 3 days. Like, even on the plane, usually I'm like the guy who gets the party going and whatever. Like, I had the speaker. I was still DJing, but I was like sitting in my seat, and I was just kind of like DJing from the front, and I wasn't really feeling it. And we get back home, and I was like dead for 2 days, 3 days. So I didn't really enjoy the party as much. Like, the first time I came out was for the parade, which we had at the stadium. It was supposed to be like a safe environment for everyone. And then we went to a bar, a restaurant, and which my buddy owned, and everything was like no one really had COVID anymore. And then sure enough, we all go there, and this whole staff gets COVID, and they had to shut down for 2 weeks. So it was kind of like a weird time, right? We couldn't really celebrate the proper way. A lot of people were sick. It was just a weird time to be out and celebrating. And again, like I kind of saw the writing on the wall with the team. I was just in a weird headspace with how everything kind of went down that season. So I didn't really enjoy, the festivities or that Grey Cup as much as I probably should have. Do I regret that? Yeah. But again, part of it was because I was deathly ill, just like having like fever and feel like I was dying on the couch while everyone was going crazy. But the other side of it was I could kind of just see where it was trending, and it was a sad moment for me because I knew that it was going to be most likely over for me in Winnipeg.
So you end up deciding to leave. Last few questions as well, Andrew, before we get you out of here. You end up leaving Winnipeg and end up, like you said, beating Winnipeg in the Grey Cup. How good that must have feel with obviously Winnipeg in a sense, right? The business side of them is probably feeling like you're getting older and it's time to maybe move on. They have Brady as well behind you, and
Yeah,
you end up showing them that, hey, I still have a little bit left in the tank and I can still win a Grey Cup.
yeah. I mean, for me, going to Toronto it was just revitalized me and revamped me and got me remotivated. And I also knew I was going there to be more of a leader and lead by example than be the guy who's gonna just carry the mail and put up the numbers that I used to. Um, there was a massive culture shift and shock, coming from Winnipeg to Toronto. And I just took that role and embraced it and tried to do as best as I could to bring the guys together like we had in Winnipeg. Pass on as many nuggets as I could to AJ and Danny, the backup running backs in Toronto. But yeah, I mean, that was, and it was a special time for me too. My son was born. So I tore my pec again that season, my other pec. And same thing. They said 6 months. I think this was in August when I tore my pec, and I got weak pecs, I guess. And anyways, they said, yeah, 6 months, and I was like, no, I'm coming back for playoffs, and I know we're gonna play Winnipeg and we're gonna beat them. That was my mindset. So go through rehab and ended up getting back in about 2.5 months and being ready to play for the East Final against Montreal. And then my son was born 10 days or 2 days before East Final as well, 10 days before the Grey Cup. So, I mean, yeah, it was a special time. Axel was born, and I'm playing 2 days later, score a touchdown early against Montreal. And then we see ourselves playing against Winnipeg in the Grey Cup. So, I remember just that whole week, and again, everyone thought that Winnipeg was gonna, it was gonna take it. It was gonna be an easy game for them, and just relaying to my teammates, the mentality and how these guys play and little ins and outs between the O line, their D line, just every little piece of information I could have gave to any player on our team. I was giving him all the information. I'd been there for so long, so. But yeah, it was awesome, man. It was just wicked, but I also respected Winnipeg as much too. I remember I had media and I had to walk through, basically their change room, and I saw some of their equipment staff and medical staff and their media people, and I gave everyone a hug, and there's still tons of love and respect, within that organization, and they're still family to me. But sometimes you got to beat your family's ass.
Well said, Andrew. So,
Mhm.
you hear a lot of athletes talk about not being able to maybe enjoy their accomplishments while they're in it. Now
Yeah,
that you're out of the game, um, you know, Winnipeg boy, a CGFL kid though, are you able to really appreciate what you've done? You look at it, I believe you're top 5 in a career, total yards from scrimmage. I think you're like 4th in rushing yards or something like that, most by a Canadian. And what you've done, are you able to kind of really enjoy that quite yet, or do you even think about that yet? Because it's so still, only a few years ago that you were playing. That like what you've done from where you were and now where you've came is really, really just legendary stuff, Andrew. I know you've heard this quite often and stuff like that, but the journey that you've been on now is just crazy to see what you've came 4 Grey Cups, the national championships and stuff like that. Are you really able to enjoy that now?
Yeah, I think more so now, absolutely. I think the big thing for me is just the journey. You appreciate the journey and the sacrifice and the people along the way that were there for you and that you're able to win with. I mean the numbers are great, but I'm nothing without my teammates, my coaches, the people that helped me get there. So again, I really just appreciate the people, the moments more than anything. And I mean, records are meant to be broken. Without a doubt, I'll be top 10, top 5, and I'll be top 10 in 10 years, or whatever. So I'll enjoy it now. I work my ass off to get there, and to be just recognized, as one of the best to play the game is good enough for me. Yeah, like I really I couldn't imagine that I was going to be here. So I'm grateful. I'm humbled. It to me is just how can I pass on the great things that I learned from this game? How can I make the people around me better? And how can I help someone get the same experience I got? Because the experience and the moments and the memories are really what are special to me. So and again, that's why I'm so excited, so proud of the Raiders of where we're going. And this is kind of new news right now. I just signed a contract with the Roughriders, so I'm going to be the running back coach for next year, or this season.
No
So
way.
I'm excited to be working back in football, and passing my knowledge down to AJ, even more so now on a coach to player basis instead of player to player. So I'm really looking forward to getting back into football though, and still continue to help the Raiders. Yeah, you're the first to hear it, so there you go.
Heck yeah! Congratulations, Andrew. That's really
Yeah,
cool, and excited to see you in your new role. Let's talk about the Raiders before we get you out of here, okay?
yeah,
You guys have been in the news, signing this guy, signing this guy. I guess I should say we have been in the news actually.
yeah. No kidding. You're
Signing this
part of
guy,
us, man. Yeah,
signing this guy. Um, all the news. It's been great to see that we've been bringing in and using our the six international players with the Americans and stuff like that, bringing in the guys up front, which I love to see. Obviously, with the skill position players we were bringing in last year was terrific. How excited are you moving forward now that it seems like you were talking about the guys from worldwide, Germany and stuff like that? We signed that offensive lineman for I think it was Nova Scotia, so it's like Canada wide as well.
yeah.
Just how excited are we, Andrew, moving forward now, year two with Sean and Jake as kind of the leaders there in the organization, and just moving forward where I feel like the Raiders are trending upwards.
Yeah, I mean it's funny. I mean Sean and Jake and the recruiting staff have been doing such a great job. I look back to like a year ago. We're calling on schools and players, and now that we're making some waves and the fish are starting to jump on the boat now, where players and coaches are calling us. So it's making it easier. But we're also now like looking at talent is great, but we want character. We want character guys that are bought into what we're trying to do. I think when you have the right character guys, you build the right culture, along with talent. That's what makes a team really special, right? You could have all the talent in the world, but if they're not good character guys and there's no culture there, you're gonna struggle. And for me, this isn't just we want to win one year or be great for 1 year. I want this team, and so does Sean and Jake and the rest of the staff, to be consistently successful, so consistently, back to back to back to back to back to back. I want to be the hilltops. So that's the goal, and it all starts with culture. It starts with the right people, relaying this message, making this team as professional as possible. Just from our code of conduct to the playbook to how we handle ourselves in the community, and again the talent we've been finding, attracting and bringing in. Really excited about. This team was a great team last year, but on paper already we're a lot better. We got a lot more depth. The big area we wanted to improve on this year was O-line. And we have 5 signings already that are all going to make a massive difference. There's more to come. We signed a university caliber tailback. We got university
Receivers.
caliber 2 receivers. Yes, we have the best safety in the league by far as a freshman, coming from Colorado. Yeah, we across the board, really excited about this team. I know the guys that are existing on the team, that the players that are there, they're working hard. They know that they can see who we're signing. They know that their jobs aren't secure,
Damn right.
and that's all we're trying to breed internal competition, healthy competition. I want these guys to push each other every day. Talk shit to each other in a respectful way, where everyone's getting better, pushing each other. And and the biggest part for me is again the character, the culture, and what these guys do in the community while they're here. Are they just hanging out playing video games? Are they doing things to better themselves, whether it's work, whether it's volunteering? And that's gonna be a big proponent this year of the community aspect, and making sure that play for a year, play for two, play for five. They're leaving as better humans, better men, with some great experiences, and hopefully a couple of rings on their finger.
To me, Andrew, the thing that comes to mind is like, it's not going to be fun when the rabbit has the gun next year. And I feel like a lot of people were kind of comparing us to, or looking over us, I feel like. And even last year when I was doing the weekly picks, a lot of people were like, it's the same old Raiders. Like, I know we had a little bit of success there, but I feel like this year they're going to really find out that it's kind of coming back to form, and coming back to the old Raider days. There is
Yeah, I
one
mean, and
position you got.
last year we had a great team.
Yeah,
It was a depth that kind of killed us. Like we were by far the youngest team, and even our roster was small. Like we only had 50 some guys on our roster. So again, we're gonna hopefully carry 80, 90 guys next year, and again, that creates internal competition at practice. Every day guys are gonna get better, and you know also too, we're talking about sponsorship and community involvement. We got a lot more opportunities now with sponsors, and more volunteers coming out of the woodworks, and people just wanting to get back involved with the Raiders, which is awesome to see. It takes a village to raise a child, and a way bigger community to raise a football team, and nurture it. So or nourish it. So for us, we need all the nourishing, and all the support we can get. And again, we want to be able to give back to the community in the same way.
Yeah, so lastly on the Raiders, Andrew, on the little bit of piece of news I'm hoping to see here coming out very soon. I know there's some uncertainty at the quarterback position, so I'm hoping to hear that Sadler's back, or we're signing some big name quarterback as well.
Are you looking for an answer? Yeah, we're ongoing right now. Yeah, we're kind of just waiting to see what happens with a couple people here. Sadler was planning on going back to school in the States, so we're just kind of seeing what happens with him. And then another one or two guys that they're looking at, but I have full confidence that the quarterback position is going to be the least of our worries for next year. So we're gonna have a special player coming no matter what. And again, for us, it's about character. I want a good leader. That's about the team first, and bought into our culture and what we're trying to do. And I think the guys that we're looking at right now are all of that. But yeah, we'll have to just wait and see how it plays out.
Yes, love it. So, Andrew, my last one here for you, and it's a three-parter. I asked you this last time you were on, and you can do kind of like 30 seconds for each team. But obviously, at the time, the Argos were a little bit of uncertainty. They ended up winning the Grey Cup. If you could just kind of comment on them, Winnipeg, and then BC. BC's perspective. I'm just curious to get your thoughts on Buck Pierce being named the head coach in BC.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super pumped for Buck, for Buck. It's cool to see him kind of go full circle, right? When I first started in BC, he was there. He started in 2005. 20 years later, for him to be in this position now, and coaching, and he's paid his dues. He's very smart. He's a great guy to be around, and I think with him and the staff they hired, and the only worry I have with BC, honestly, is how much they paid Rourke. And only reason I say that is because I've seen this happen before. Mike Riley in Edmonton, they paid him a bunch of money, and didn't really have that extra money to pay, to get receivers or O-line in front of them. So, I'm interested to see how that works out. I've just seen it happen before, where you kind of extend yourself into one player, but you need someone to catch the ball and block for him to get the ball off. So that's the only concern I have. But I think their staff, the staff's great, and I think they're going to do a great job this year in all the things they do, just based off of Buck and his energy. Winnipeg, yeah, I mean, Winnipeg is kind of, to me, I thought last year was probably their best year to kind of get it done. And I mean, only because of the age of the guys, right? So when I was playing, 2 years ago, 3 years ago with those guys, we're all old, and now they're still signing these guys. I'm like, wow. All the power to them, man. Like I'm happy for the guys that are signed and coming back again, but I just know how tough that is at that age to still play at a high level. And
Andrew, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Do you think playing in a home Grey Cup plays any more motivation into next year for Winnipeg?
yeah, I think absolutely, and I think that has a big factor to why the guys are coming back. But it's like, you know, it's been tough for them for the last couple of years, and it's not going to get any easier because just the age, right? So, one, those guys are going to take up a big chunk of your money because they're veterans and they have families to feed, and just their pedigree. So you're not gonna have money for new money to come in or new players to come in. But I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be a tough road for them going forward. But also too, veteran leadership, wisdom plays a big role and goes a long way. And no one has more than that than Winnipeg. So if they can stay healthy and those old guys can still get it done, they're going to be dangerous again. And I mean, they got two or three of the best offensive players in the league in Zach Brady and Kenny Lawler. So and my man Dembski. So I mean, those four guys can do damage at any point in time in the season or a game. So look out for that. And then Toronto, yeah, I mean Toronto's been a lot of rumblings and rumors coming out of there about just signings and stuff, and I just kind of noticing what they've been doing in free agency and finding all these rookies to come in. And the one thing I'll give the Toronto staff is they do find those Americans, those first year guys. They do find that talent. I don't know how they do it, just based off their staff, but and the lack of it. But they do find that staff and those players, and they do a hell of a good job doing it. So they're always gonna find those up and coming players that are gonna be great and are gonna be affordable. And it just comes down to the fact of who they can retain, and it comes down to leadership again for them too. Chad Kelly's gonna be Chad Kelly. He's gonna he's still gonna be a baller, and I think the strength of their team is their O line and their D line. And to me, that's the most important position on the field, both sides of the ball, is O line and D line. So I think they have the strongest, in the league at this point right now, even with losing Flo to Calgary. But I still think they're the most dominant on both sides of the ball that way. So that'll put them in successful positions all the time.
Well, Andrew, thank you so much once again. I appreciate you for jumping on here, being so generous to your time with me. Second time now on the channel. Hopefully, we can be in touch maybe when you come out for camp or something like that, do some more stuff. But I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate hearing some of these cool stories of younger me being at Cali for the '09 Natty and stuff like that, and just hearing some of the day in the life of Andrew Harris and stuff like that is super cool for me. And just what you've been doing with the Raiders the last few years. I can't thank you guys enough for what you guys have been doing and creating once again. Um, I'm excited for next year. I really feel like we're back on our way up to the top. And I'm going to wish you, lastly, best of luck in Saskatchewan next season as well.
Yeah, feels weird to say it, man. I just signed the
It
contract
does.
this morning, but yeah, I'm excited, man. I mean, it's just um, tried the corporate sales and all that stuff, and to me, I felt a hole in my heart with being on the field and coaching. So I'm giving it a shot. I'm gonna go all in, and my goal is to become a head coach or a GM eventually. So you got to start somewhere, and looking forward to seeing how it all plays out.
Very, very cool to hear. I like that. I would love to see you in that role one day. Lastly, Andrew, continue to go bar down like I was mentioning to you offline there. Loving to see the highlights and loving to see you on the ice.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a game tonight, so hopefully I can put some more highlight reels together for the boys.
Awesome. Good,
Yeah,
good luck, Andrew. And once again, just thank you so much. I appreciate you for always jumping on and being generous with your time.
sounds good, man. Take care. Have a good rest of the weekend.
Awesome. You too, Andrew. Andrew Harris joining the program. Thanks to Andrew once again, just so generous with his time. Whenever I hit him up, jumping on here, chatting. Hopefully, going to get Andrew on, like I said, once again, once it's closer to VI Raiders spring camp and or main camp and getting some more time with Andrew, hearing about what they're building. Um, Actually, going to be curious to see if Andrew maybe spring camp with the rider schedule when it's going to line up with potentially maybe them being in training camp and whatnot during main camp. So just big shout out to Andrew once again. It was cool for me, like I said, just to hear some of the stories from behind the scenes of me being a little kid at Caledonia watching the Raiders and seeing Andrew Harris and Andrew Smith and Jordan Yant, Aaron Davies, all these names that I remember very well being a young kid and looking up to these guys. Of these guys, to me, were like big town heroes because I guess it was CIS back then, not U Sports, was a little bit more hard to come across, and it was out there a little bit on the score I know played, but more predominantly with the OUA and stuff like that. Um, you know, Andrew was a really guy that I watched with, the BCFC and stuff like that on Saturdays. So they were kind of my heroes and guys that I thought were, going to the league and stuff like that. And some of them were like Andrew was talking about, Andrew himself. But when we was that 2012 class, I want to say, of Jordan Yance, Dustin Peterson, Tremaine Apperly, John Jones, a few other guys on there that went to Manitoba, and I kind of realized that wow, there's a football after CJFL. It was crazy to me, even having experienced the Vanier Cup in 2011. Never really clued in until that following year, and they went to Manitoba. Was very, very cool for me to see and kind of follow them along from there. Yancey, terrific U Sports career, and then obviously fell short of landing a place in the CFL, but still very cool to see and follow those guys' career. Very similar with Andrew Harris. So there was a ton of stuff I wasn't able to ask him as well, but wanted to be courteous of Andrew's time here. Being a dad, I'm sure he's um, got a little guy running around wanting to burn some energy, maybe go downstairs and hit some one timers on their synthetic ice. I've always seen that and wanted to try that out, test that out. But um, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode with CFL legend, future Hall of Famer, Andrew Harris. That's going to do it for today, folks. Trying to think of any reminders to give you guys. Like always, like, comment, subscribe. When you guys subscribe, press the notification bell. You guys will get notified every single time we go live or upload any sort of content here on the channel as well. Follow us on our social media platforms. On Instagram, we are at Canadian Football Fanatics, and on Twitter, excuse me, we are at _ CF Fanatics as well. So I think that's going to do it. 2 episodes down here in 2025. Javon Katoy, first off. Andrew Harris, second. If you guys haven't checked out Javon's, go check that out now. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this one. Like I said, comment down below what you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any questions for Andrew in future episodes, we have Andrew on. Maybe we can include some of those as well. We'd love to hear some of your guys' questions that you maybe potentially you have for Andrew. Because, like I said, there was still a ton of stuff I didn't get to ask him. Spent a lot of time talking about the Raiders and stuff like that. Some lines, a little bit of Bombers, and a few Argos questions there at the end. But like I said, still a ton of questions we can ask Andrew, and hopefully he'll be back on in the future. If not, I know I'll definitely be able to run into him at Raiders camp and hopefully chop it up with him and maybe get some of his thoughts when spring camp rolls around, because the Raiders will be almost in full swing by then. We'll definitely have a good feel of how the team's going to look on the field. We'll definitely know who QB1 will be, which is, I think, the biggest question left now, because hopefully for those that are CJFL supporters are not getting too tired of all the Raider talk, but that's just how it is, especially on this episode. We had some Langley Rams talk with Javon Katoy, but I think the Raiders are headed back to, on top. I don't know if I'm going to say maybe on top of the BCFC quite yet, but I think they're going to be in contention, especially up there with, Okanagan. We showed that we could play with Okanagan last year, as well as Langley, two of the top contending teams. West Shore, we beat them, and from there, I really think we're better than Valley and the interior teams with Kamloops and PG as well. So excited to see how the boys contend. I think they're for sure a top 3 team in the BCFC. Call me biased, call me whatever you want. I think they will back me up on the field with their play this upcoming season. Shout out to Coach Sean Arabsky. Should hopefully have his episode posted by now. If not by now, Sean's will be the next episode posted. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. That was a ton of fun to sit down with Sean. Known Sean for quite some time now, probably about 14 years, dating back to our time playing against each other. Me with the NDSS Islanders and him with the John Barsby Bulldogs. Just like I said, go check that episode out. You guys will know what I'm talking about, and give my flowers to Sean there because he's doing a terrific job with the community football in the Nanaimo community as well as the Vancouver Island Raiders community. So I think as I take a deep breath, I think that will do it for us here today, folks. Lastly, I'm going to go enjoy my divisional round weekend here in the NFL. As you can see, wearing my Bills gear. Today is the 18th, Saturday, the 18th, January. So we are about an hour or so away from, actually about 2 hours away from Chiefs Texans, and then tonight is, I think, the Lions Redskins, if I'm not mistaken, tonight. And then, of course, my Buffalo Bills playing the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry tomorrow. So by the time you guys are listening to this, it'll probably be long done. It will be. It won't probably be. So root hard. Hopefully by now the Bills are playing an AFC Championship game or have won AFC Championship game. So hopefully we can come back 2 weeks from now and good things have happened. Cross your fingers for us, guys. Cross your fingers for me and the rest of Bills Mafia, I suppose. um, but back to Canadian football. That was a ton of fun recording with Andrew today. Stay tuned for our coming episodes. Like I said, we are having Jalen Philpott, Calgary Stampeders receiver on, Taylor Elgersma, University of Laurier quarterback on, as well as some other guests that aren't officially locked in, but verbal agreements have been made, and hopefully we can line up a date to record with them, and then we can get you guys a little bit of a teaser when those are going to come out. So as always, like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, subscribe, press the notification bell when you guys do. You guys get notified every time we go live. Comment down below what you guys enjoyed about today's episode, who you guys would like to see on future episodes, and we appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.